Good evening, everybody. I'm Simon Sporter, and welcome to tonight's question and answer session for the tennis volunteer community. Tonight, we've got Lara with us. Lara does a lot of our posters for the group and lots of different support for us on branding and marketing. And tonight, she's going to talk about how you can improve your branding and marketing at your club. So Lara will introduce herself. She'll give a little bit of a presentation. I think she's got a couple of slides for us to see, and then we'll have as much time as possible for you to ask lots of questions of her and to share your ideas as well. So over to you, Lara, and thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I see a few familiar faces in the crowd, so nice to see you guys. I'm going to start off with a quick little presentation, basically, I've put together just to kind of, I guess what I do is quite visual, so it's always good to sort of see examples of what I'm waffling on about. So if you just hang on a sec, I'll share my screen. Oh, yeah, there we go. Everyone can see that? Thumbs up if you can see that.
Yeah, it's all good.
All right, lovely. So a bit about me, basically. To start off with, I have quite a long history in tennis. I started playing when I was 5 years old with my dad in the back garden. I then started having coaching in my local park when I was about sort of 10, 11, so quite late to the game really with the coaching. And then started taking part in a junior program in Middlesex at Westway Sports Centre specifically, where I then played in various squads and things until I decided that I wanted to start helping out at the program and become a sort of leader back in the day, and then eventually ended up doing my coaching qualification as a level 3 coach. Did a degree in sports science as well. And then when I started working as a coach, I kind of then also did some work on the side as a designer and did a couple of courses in graphic design. So the two passions in my life have always been graphic design and tennis. Worked in an agency for a bit, took a break from coaching tennis, then came back to tennis in different roles, sort of participation, sort of program management roles, running schools programs and sort of participation programs, and then left the country, got married, and I've lived in about 5 different countries, had kids, and then came back to the UK and decided that I wanted to start working again, and that I wanted to combine my two passions, which have always been design and tennis. And with all of my experience up until that point, I decided that I was going to sort of offer my design branding services to the tennis community. So I started my own little business called 7 Love Studio about 3-4 years ago. And here we are, basically. So just to expand on the design side of things, it all really starts with logo design. So these are a couple of examples of some of the latest bits and bobs that I've done. Some you might be familiar with, some of you not. But yes, I've worked mostly with coaches, with a few charities, with programs. I've helped rebrand a podcast, which you might be aware of, Control the Controllables. And just, yeah, sort of helps people sort of get themselves out there with a logo and sort of corporate look, well, not corporate, but a brand to support that. So that usually involves things like graphics for their social media. When in the case of Control the Controllables, a podcast cover design. You've got examples there of like clothing, coach clothing and program clothing. So I tend to look at not just the logo, but how that logo can then support and create a brand for the venue or the club or the program. I also do stuff for Berkshire. I run their social media and a little bit of their digital marketing. So
Now, are you showing us slides while you do this? Because you're not changing the slide. If you are, I'm not quite sure.
Sorry, are you not seeing it?
No, you're not changing the slide.
Okay, I'm going to come out of it. Can you see that now?
No, it's still on the hello at the moment. You just
Okay.
need to move across probably.
This one?
Yeah, now, yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Okay, so this is the logo, sorry. Going on about logos and you couldn't see them. So here they are. So these are some of the sort of more recent logos I've worked on. So now you understand what that was about. And then this was the bit about graphics for social media, for coaching team, for the program to get people out there. Some of these are then translated into posters that people could put up around their venues. The Controllables one is a podcast cover design, which I've then helped them set up the branding for how they promote themselves on social media and digitally. This is the Berkshire tennis stuff. So I've sort of tried to expand the brand onto Club Spark as well, which you'll see here, and some clothing, team clothing. And then, yeah, the tennis volunteer community logo and branding that I've sort of set up or got going at the moment. And that's pretty much it. That's just a little sort of skim of the things that I do and what I've done up till now. So yeah, I can stop sharing, Simon, or I can these things up if you'd like.
Thank you, Lauren. And I'm sure if anyone wants to see some of these ideas, you can show them later on. I think you've still got you're still sharing your screen?
Yeah, I'll stop sharing now.
Great. Thank you very much, Lara, for that. And I'm sure you've got other bits of expertise which you can share if there are any awkward moments of silence during our time. But I'm sure with this number of people on board, I'm sure they're all tempted and very keen to ask questions about how they can improve things at their clubs. So does anyone have a question to get started with this evening? Anyone's hands up? Okay, no one just yet. So I will ask you, Lara, so if I were marketing for my club, and where should I start? We've been doing a bit of this, bit of that, all kinds of different things, but it's all very disorganized and I want to start somewhere. So should I start with the logo or should I start with what I'm trying to achieve? Should I be focused on particular programs within the club or different types of people within the club? Where should I start?
I mean, yeah, I don't think there's a wrong answer or a right answer initially with where to start. But I think having a look at your membership, who is in your membership, and essentially what you're trying to then do, whether it's to grow a specific audience, a sort of a specific target audience in your membership, or if it's to just get a bigger amount of people as part of your membership. So depending on what your goals, it really essentially depends on that first. But we all know that these days, when you're looking for information about a club or where to join or somewhere for your children to start playing tennis or somewhere for you to start socializing or sort of pick up your racket again if you haven't done so for a few years, usually you'll go on to Google and have a search at what's around you. So usually a search would involve like tennis clubs near me or tennis programs near me or tennis for kids near me. And then, of course, what comes up is usually websites and Club Spark websites or, whatever kind of websites people have. And I think that's probably your best starting point because that's usually where people are going to search and find something. If you don't have a website, a lot of the time, any social media pages attached to your venue or your program are what's going to come up. So if it's not a website, then definitely a social media presence helps.
Okay, thank you. Kate, we've got a question from you, Kate. I don't know if you're on video as well or just on audio. Oh, there you are.
Sorry, yeah.
Welcome, Kate.
Yeah, I'm just wondering what.
Where are you from, Kate, please?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, where are you from? Which area?
Oh, sorry, I'm from Leicestershire, Market Bosworth Tennis Club.
Okay, welcome. Please continue.
I just wondered which software do you use? What are the programs that you use to design the posters and things? And are they things that would be easily used by other people or are they very expensive?
So I, as a designer, I primarily use things like Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign, which are programs that, are industry standard in terms of creating things like logos and branding. However, I'm a big fan of Canva, which is a web-based program which essentially makes it massively easy for anyone to be able to pull together a graphic, pull together a leaflet or a flyer. And that's available for free. So it's got a certain level of usability that's free. And then it's got the pro version, which is about about £100 a year, or something like £11 or £12 a month, depending on what you want to commit to. And that, that's pretty much one of the main tools I actually use for tennis volunteer community, because it's quick. I can set up templates, I can update them, I can drop in new images, I can flip the colors around. It's really easy and simple to use for me, but I'm aware that not for everybody. But there are plenty of tutorials out there that you can find on YouTube, etc., for free. And yeah, basically figure it out from there. They've got lots of templates that are already set up that you can just essentially put your own colors into, or put your own photos into, and change the fonts a little bit. So yeah, massive fan of Canva for its accessibility for anybody who's, not a designer, basically.
Lovely, thank you very much. Atif, please come in.
Hi, I'm Atif. I'm from Leicester Forest East Tennis Club. Thank you for sharing so far. It's been really, really good and useful. Just coming back to your point about Google, when somebody is looking for a tennis club, obviously Google search will be one of the first things they do. How can you boost your website's rankings within the Google search?
So as much as I understand branding and design and stuff, my background, I'm not a trained marketer. It's something I've picked up along the way through what I do, because essentially I'm what I do is very visual and it's very digital led, so everything is on and visible online. When it comes to ranking, Google ranking, I believe SEO, so search engine optimization, is something that most people need to look at. And basically, in its simplest form, that's when you set up your website, that's making sure that certain terminology is in the homepage, or is in your, even down to your domain name. So making sure that, if you want to be known for, tennis in Market Harborough, for example, you might want to make sure that you talk about that somewhere on your homepage text. So whether it's, we're a forecourt floodlit facility providing tennis for the community in Market Harborough, there's all those specific terms. As long as you're using them in your website somewhere, then Google starts to pick it up. There are other ways as well. I believe if you've got, you can obviously set up a Google profile and then have pay for advertising, or you've basically got reviews as well. Can really help. Google reviews, and usually places that rank high with Google reviews tend to then be the ones that come up first. So there's various ways to do it, basically, but yeah, just keeping an active and up-to-date website too. Try not to let that one slip too much.
When you say that about the website, that's interesting. So do you think somebody should be looking at it, say, on a monthly basis, and encouraging members of their club who are taking responsibility to feed information in?
Yeah,
it is important.
Yeah, so making sure things like, whenever if the coaching team changes, making sure that those updates are there, making sure that session timetables and schedules are up to date. Even if you've got a news section, try and keep that going. Try not to leave it too long before there's an update and stuff, because obviously people will look at activity or look at news articles if you've got them, and if it's been updated in 2018 then they may get the impression that people aren't really too active at the club. So just little things like that do help.
Right. So don't forget to use the chat. If you don't want to actually speak, you can just put your comments on the chat and we can see what your thinking is, endorsing some of Lara's views, or you can disagree if you wish as well, if you've got your own opinions. Graham Sievers, would you like to come in?
Hi, thank you. I'm from Conway Lawn Tennis Club in North London. And just following on from what Simon's saying, Mandy, that's a great tip. I didn't realize you could get Canva Pro for free if you're a charity or not-for-profit maybe organization. So I'll certainly look into that.
Yeah,
because it is very, very useful. Lara, thank you for that introduction. And really, I just wanted to ask, you know, I possibly the same as many clubs where 80% of our members live within a 10 or 15-minute walk. We're not really looking to go beyond sort of a smallish regional area for attracting new membership. We are looking to do a new membership drive in the next couple of months. Do you think that there's a specific order of social media outlets, channels, and website that we should be targeting? I mean, all our social media, we've got Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, and I feel like most of the time we're just writing to each other. We're just posting to people, you know, like, to our mates. It's almost like having your own WhatsApp group. Just having, you know, we've got 150 followers on probably on all of them. They're probably all the same people. So I don't know about how I absolutely understand the business about getting your website recognized, and certainly, you know, we've got Conway Tennis, I think, in the URL. So anybody typing in tennis locally near them should get that up on their Google search. But is there something we should focus on because we're a local group? We're not looking to get massive followers from across the UK or the world.
Yeah, I think, well, it probably depends on if there's a specific sort of section of people that you're trying to attract. So whether you're trying to attract a more, you know, juniors, for example, if you're trying to attract more young kids to then come through the program and, you know, be part of the club and bring their families, and you need to probably look at where those people are. And that's the case with everybody, with everything, because your audience, depending on their age, depending on their interests, depending on everything, are going to spend their time in different places. So you may have, like, for example, if I think about myself, I've got two daughters who are 10 and 5. When I first moved to the area, the first thing I did was search kids tennis near me, and up came a few clubs, and off I started with my search and started contacting a few. And that's how I then found the place for my kids to start playing tennis. So a lot of the time you kind of have to put yourself in the shoes of the people you're trying to attract. So if you think about, if you're trying to attract people who are very local to you, then is social media even the right place? Are they going to be on social media? If you're trying to attract a slightly older generation, maybe it's actually putting a few posters up in your local library or in community centre nearby. By all means, I don't think just because we're moving to, you know, we are in a very digital age and things are moving rapidly and we're all on social media. Not everyone actually is. And I think it's kind of smart to make those connections within your community, whether it's, you know, having a poster up at, yeah, like the parish hall or whatever it might be down the road, or at the local library, having a few little printed out little cards that have a QR code that people can scan, but also include the address or have a number that people can call if you want. I think, yeah, it really depends on who you want at your club, venue, program, whatever it is, and sort of just, yeah, trying to empathize and get in their shoes, basically. I hope that kind of answers that.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Thank you. Anne Mumford, please come in.
Oh, good evening, everybody. A couple of things, really, just backing up.
Where are you from, Anne?
Can you hear?
Yeah, where are you from, Anne? Just remind us.
Sorry, yeah, I've forgotten, like everybody else. Rotary Ivanhoe Tennis Club in Leicestershire. A couple of things, really. I think the branding thing is really important. One of the best things we did was we got an 18-year-old who was going to university to study marketing at Sheffield Hallam, and we got her to design us a logo, which she did do, and was sort of like involved in some of our marketing. And it's a very simple logo, like a lot of the examples you showed, Laura. Really, it doesn't need to be complicated, does it? But it's one that works. So we've got some signs on the nets. So we pretend with the Australian Open, you know, with our signage. It works on clothing as well, which is really good, and paper stuff. So I think on the branding side, use people who might benefit from it, because in the end, I wrote Libby a reference for a job that she then got because of the work she'd done for the tennis club. So I think that was a useful thing. And I think on the marketing side, I think you're right, Laura. I think we use some quite like old-fashioned things, really. So there's a local paper publication that goes to everybody's doors, and we use that and advertising that because they publish that in March. We go around putting signs on the local notice board, the parish council's notice boards around the villages. So very much like Graham, a sort of local club. I think what we concluded, having done various things with paying for various adverts, is that people will find you via Google and your website. And I think that's one of the things that we find that's how most people actually find us if they move into the area. And one of the things we found quite useful is having a generic email address that goes to several committee members, with somebody having prime responsibility for responding, and that's worked quite well as well. So they're things that we use from a marketing point of view anyway. But actually some of the things that kind of some of the more old-fashioned ways of marketing, but plus a good website that we do keep up to date, works really well.
Yeah, and I think that point you made about keeping things simple, I know you were referring to logo design, but it's keeping it clean and simple in terms of visuals just makes it a lot easier to manage at the end of the day. And when it comes to like specifically logo design, there are certain technicalities that you need to look at. For example, the amount of colors you use, keeping that as simple as possible. Also, here's a big hint: tennis ball yellow is probably one of the hardest colors to manage when it comes to printing, for example. So that's something I've learned myself, actually, that if you're trying to replicate that lovely greeny yellowy tennis ball color, it doesn't print very well. So that's another thing. I know, just in case anyone's wondering. But yeah, I think you sound like you guys have it covered. Love the idea of having an intern or having like a student who's studying either marketing, digital marketing, graphic design and branding. At the end of the day, their courses generally they usually will have some element of needing to do sort of work experience. And certainly when they graduate, one of the biggest things is for these students to have had some experience. So definitely tap into your local, sixth form college or higher education facility or university, because absolutely, like, people should be taking the opportunity to help out with those kind of things.
Right. I'll come to you, John, in a second, but I got a couple of things on the chat to ask you, Lara. So the first one is from Paul Cagill. Is there any marketing advice or content from Club Spark itself?
From Club Spark, do they provide anything, or?
I think so. So they give you the site. We can obviously go to them afterwards and find out what they're offering, but I'm not sure they offer us much more than the actual sort of platform.
I feel like I'm sure many of you will probably understand. I feel like Club Spark are very stretched. What they're providing is great, I have to say. But it doesn't come without its issues, as I'm sure probably everybody in this chat has experienced if you deal with Club Spark. So you've obviously got the booking element of it, that you run your memberships, you run your court bookings, etc. through it. You've also got the website stuff, and dealing with the website side of things definitely has its limitations too. However, they do seem to be trying to integrate new things. For example, you can now choose a selection of fonts for the website. It's not all like standardized. You can actually like pick and choose for what suits your branding, or if you want to kind of keep things consistent. There do seem to be a few more colors as well that they're adding. But in terms of actually marketing, I don't know if they offer advice as such, but you're probably better off Googling that, Googling or YouTubing videos about, basic marketing.
Well, we'll get Club Spark onto one of these sessions again soon, and you'll be able to ask them that question. Anyway, I've got some more questions on the chat, but first of all, let's go to John before he puts his hand down and gets impatient. Come in, John. You're on mute, John.
John Ratcliffe, I'm chair of directors at Shooters Lawn Tennis Club in Kent. It's an inner London club. We're very fortunate and blessed that we've over 600 members on 6 courts. So in terms of wanting to go and get more membership, it's not really high on our priority. But what's quite interesting is to look perhaps at why that's come about. It's not as though the club has gone out specifically with leaflets, etc. I think the key to a success in membership is what you offer. We forget that sometimes. What is the quality of coaching you're offering for juniors, for adults? Sorry about that noise in the background, but I'm in a room with a log fire and it's misbehaving. So, yeah, the quality of what you're offering to your membership in terms of coaching, very important. The quality of the coaches. We're very fortunate at Shooters Hill that we've got 2 level 4s and 2 level 3 full-time coaches. So the quality of coaching is first class. We can link in for juniors who have a high level of performance into the Bromley Performance Centre, and obviously that's got a huge reputation now in Southeast London, and all parents want to send their children there. So that's an advantage as well. Also, the social side of the club. What is it that you're offering in terms of not just tennis? Are you offering quiz evenings? Are you offering an evening for people to come and to chat? Is there a bar which is sometimes open, or is there a bar open all the time? We have a part-time bar. We're a purely volunteers club. We don't have any paid employers apart from an admin officer who does basically £6,000 of work a year. But we are very blessed by having a secretary who does really 3 days on a voluntary basis, which is unheard of these days, but that keeps the club going. So that's a top volunteer, and all the board are volunteers, and they are specific in certain areas. So one key thing which has come out here, Simon, and I totally agree with this, people say to me, oh, you don't use a website anymore, John. That's a waste of time now. Use Twitter, use Facebook, use the other means of modern day communication, because the youngsters go to that. Yes, they do. But I do have to say the website is vital. And the point about keeping it up to date is absolutely number one criteria. We update ours once every week. Changes are made by the secretary every week to that website with a new information sheet about what's been going on over the last week, any changes during the week. And it's a place that people go to for information. I was amazed when we asked the web designer for how many people had looked at the website in the month of December. And I was flabbergasted, absolutely flabbergasted. 80,000 people looked at the website from around the world. Now, how many of those were actually looking specifically about Shooters Hill and wanting to come and do something at Shooters Hill? But that's an enormous number of people, maybe just clicking onto the front page. But I was just flabbergasted how many people came to that website. But it's obviously attracting people. I think the name Shooters, as we call ourselves, it gets ourselves to the top of Google. We're fortunate that we know somebody in Google's who's put us to the top. We haven't had to pay for it, so we're lucky there. And it's a great advantage. But my question I'd like to ask, Simon, if I could, and anybody on the call tonight, we're at the stage now, we've never been sponsored. Never, ever been sponsored. I've been chair of directors now for 15 years, but the board of directors decided that they're going to go and look for a sponsor. Well, 2 of them have got together and they have produced data of where the 3 main groups of people come from within the local area. Obviously, the very local area, then the 2 nearest areas around us. We've got that data now, and we want to think about where we should go with that data in terms of trying to get a club main sponsor and the type of money we should ask for when we go for that sponsorship. So any ideas from anybody on the call tonight will be most welcome. So the marketing of the club in the wider community in terms of sponsorship.
Lara, do you have any, thank you, John. Do you have any input on that, Lara, or should we wait for comments on the chat?
So in terms of sponsorship specifically?
Or anything about John's success story that he just told us about?
Well, no, I mean, yeah, that's you sound like you guys have got it nailed, basically, that you're doing all the right things. I think the point that you made about the fact that you're not looking to grow the club is great, but I guess it's keeping that presence alive, you know, which you're obviously doing, but also really making sure you're not ignoring your current membership. So whether that's, you know, making sure that there's pictures and those pictures are getting switched around, that they're not stagnant, that there's news articles, that you're still, you know, basically showcasing what the club's about and who the members are, and if they want to, of course. Not everybody wants to be splashed around on the internet, but yeah, yeah, by all means, you guys are doing the right things. I think in terms of sponsorship, again, it depends on what kind of sponsors you're looking to attract. Obviously, the chances are that you probably have connections within your own membership as well. You know, people who are members of tennis clubs bring so much to the club than just the tennis. There's what they do as their day jobs as well. So it could be worth, you know, tapping into your actual membership and finding out if they've got connections for, you know, potential sponsorships, etc. But yeah, I mean, yeah,
Okay.
just maintaining the website, maintaining all that presence is definitely going to look good to any potential sponsors, and they'll probably want to know. They'll probably want to know how you got the 80,000 website visitors, because
Well,
that's
yeah,
great.
Laura,
That's great coverage.
you're absolutely right. You never stand still, Laura. You're constantly
Yeah.
evolving, constantly moving forward. And the
Yeah.
day somebody said, we've done that now, no, you never
No.
get it done. So you never stand still. You've got to. We have a high turnover of members because it's an inner city area. You know,
Yeah.
we're a zone of
Oh,
transition. So constantly changing and bringing in, which is the vibrant of the club. It doesn't become stale, which is important.
yeah.
Lovely. Thank you, John. And I will come to the other chat questions in a minute. We will get through them all, I promise. Candice, do you want to come in? And then after that, Maggie, you'll have a turn.
Hi, Simon. Hi, Lara. Hi, everyone. Yeah, I wrote on the meeting chat about the Deloitte support kit that they've got. I was I think I might have been one of the last people to do their digital marketing course. And I had a mentor from Deloitte, and I found it really, really useful. I've got a marketing background myself, so some of this stuff I knew already. But if anyone doesn't have a marketing background, I printed it. I don't know if you can see it off here, but just
Yes.
go to the LTA website, do a Google search, because it's all on there. It's all for free. The other thing that we had when we had a meeting with our LTA participation manager, they were able to give us all of the local stats that they collect from the area, the types of members, the types of players, all the demographic information. And I would really recommend, if there's anyone on your committee who has the time or has the inclination to do it, to do a bit of a marketing analysis, because whilst your membership numbers might be healthy now, you know, you never know what's around the corner. A competing club might decide to have new facilities. You might get you might find that you have to keep up to date. So I would stress that it's quite important, like the previous chap was saying about, you know, keeping your website fresh. If you're going to have a social media account, it's really easy to set up if you don't have one already, but keep the content really up to date and interesting. And I agree with the lady who came on before, said it's not just about the digital stuff. Where I'm from Bagshot Tennis Club, we are in the middle of nowhere. We can't afford the charge that the council want to charge us to put a roadside up. So technically through a residential area around the back. So I've walked around our local village with one of our branded tops on, and I've had someone who said, I've lived in the village for years. I had no idea we had a tennis club. So, you know, there are lots of things that you can do that don't cost money. It takes time, but I would really, really urge people to have like a plan as well. Don't just put stuff up like willy-nilly. You know, we have, if I've got kids programs coming up, you know, and I want to advertise on social media, I've got a calendar. I've got a basic calendar of marketing activity. And there are things like on Facebook pages, you might be able to sign up to your local village group. They might have rules that you can only advertise on the first day of the month. I got told off by one Facebook administrator for breaking that rule. But yeah, I think you can have fun with it. You know, if you haven't done anything like this before, it's not scary. It's actually quite fun. And if you are already a volunteer of your club, it means that you are really passionate about your club. So, you know, if your enthusiasm comes through in your marketing material, I think you'll get a really good response from that naturally. Use families, use parents, use class groups, tap into all of that, and just do as much as you can for free. I don't get given any budget, and I manage to do quite a lot without having to spend any money. So that's another really important point.
Thank you, Candice. Lara, any responses to Candice's knowledge there?
Candice, that was just gold dust. Thank you so much. I mean, yeah, absolutely. The one thing that I picked up on there was the connecting with your regional or county like participation team to get those insights. You can actually, if you are already on social media or you have a website, you can actually get a lot of insights through that. In terms of who follows you, of course, on Instagram, who follows you on Facebook, those platforms generally give you loads of insights as it is. It's also worth making sure that your website is connected to Google Analytics as well to get the insights like the 80,000 visitors. So you can do it through ClubSpark. It's a bit tedious. If you struggle with it, it should have the information on the ClubSpark login area about Google Analytics code. That if you've got any questions about that, it's worth probably contacting ClubSpark about it for them to guide you through it, because they were quite helpful when we were setting it up for Berkshire. But that's how you get things like where your visitors are in the world, what pages they're spending the most time on, things like that. So that's definitely worth doing. Also, in terms of the Deloitte marketing resources, there's also the Digital Marketing Hub, which is free, I believe, for anyone to join. If you Google Digital Marketing Hub, I think it's funded by Sport England, and there's it's an unbelievable amount of resources on there, which anyone can access if you're working in sport, basically, if you're helping out your club, or if you've got a business or whatever it might be as a personal trainer. The amount of resources they've got is unbelievable. They've got like monthly calendars for social media in terms of like events. So for example, obviously this is an Olympic year, so you've got things that you can tie into the Olympics, days, certain national days, I don't know, like National Book Day or whatever it might be, that come up, which you can tailor your marketing or your social media content around too. And obviously in tennis, we've got the Grand Slams, great time to be active as well, and Wimbledon too. So yeah, definitely check out the Digital Marketing Hub if you haven't already.
Thank you, Lara. Maggie, do you want to come in, please?
Yeah, just a few comments actually.
Remind us where you're from, Maggie, please.
Oh, sorry, Montrose Tennis Club, Angus, Scotland. And if you hear lots of noise, we're in the middle of a storm, so there's a gale blowing everywhere around. Sorry, Lara, you mentioned about colours.
Yeah.
We actually use yellow.
Yeah.
But we don't print, we embroider.
Okay.
And it's really, really successful. It's standout colours.
Yeah.
With embroidery.
Yeah.
On our clothing, but not with printing. Obviously, you're right, but about the printing.
Yeah,
but embroidery works.
Yeah, I see somebody's mentioned the hex code for tennis ball yellow, and I guess it's your interpretation of what that actually is. Some people think it's a bit more green. Sometimes people think it's a bit more yellow. As a color on screen, it's brilliant. It looks bright and vibrant and stuff. But when you print it out with ink, because of the way inks work, you basically overlap the different colors. You can never get it as bright as it looks on screen, and that's the case for a few other colors as well, which I won't go into right now. But it's just something to be aware of, really. And if you're very specific about a certain color, and I know the tennis industry loves tennis ball yellow, why not? Then yeah, it might be a reason why, for example, Wimbledon don't use that sort of tone of yellowy green, or other brands.
Yeah, and the other thing that I'd like, the gentleman that spoke before about sponsorship, I'm just wondering actually, with 6 courts, 600 members, obviously I would imagine income is quite high. What sponsorship is needed? Why do they need sponsorship? Because presumably income from 600 members is quite significant.
Yeah, the answer to that, I can answer that question quite easily, really. Yes, the club is extremely financially strong, very strong. I won't say you'll be amazed if I told you the figures, but I'm not going to. But we have one thing about the club: all the facilities are top notch, absolutely top notch. New tiger turf laid to the best possible conditions, brand new lights on all the courts, LEDs being installed. But one thing that we haven't got is a new clubhouse. The clubhouse dates back to 1926, and although it has a lovely huge decking built around it, the actual clubhouse itself is in need now of some change, and that's going to cost us probably close on £1 million. And so therefore, if we're going to do it properly, I say that figure because that's doing it properly. That will be one of the best clubhouses in the country for a local voluntary club. But if you're going to do it properly. So the answer to your question is that's what we're going for. Aim high, aim big, get it right. And of course, going back to, how do you get your membership? If your facilities are good, people will come.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
And that's completely correct. I think the most important thing at any tennis club is the quality of the courts. Courts comes first, and then all the other activities and the programs come after that. But people want to play on a really safe, good quality court. I've got a few questions for you, Lara, on the chat. So I'll quickly go through them. Can you do videos with Canva?
You can, you can, how do I put this? Yes, you can. You can do sort of basic video editing, but I would probably recommend, a lot of the time people are gathering content and videos on their mobile phones, and there are actually a few video editing apps that you can use, again, either for free or very cheap, that you can basically do some editing in terms of like trimming, doing those sort of slow motion effects or adding filters, and basically doing basic editing. What I normally do is I'll use one of those on my phone when I get sent video footage, or if I take video footage, and then I put it into Canva, where I can then add branding. So I can add a logo, I can add colors, I can add other graphics, or I can add animation sequences on top of it. But yeah, I would probably recommend using another app within your phone to do that, because it's a lot easier a lot of the time because you're dealing with that sized content. So those programs are, there's one called CapCut, which it has free accessibility, but then it has the pro version, and that's the case with a lot of these sort of apps and programs. So it's CapCut, and the other one is InShot, which is great as well. And with both of those, you can do things like they've got templates, and you can just add in your videos and photos, and it will create something for you. You can also, with both of those, add captions, very importantly, which for social media should go without saying. It's an accessibility thing. It means that people who are not able to watch or to listen to a video still get the content through captions. So highly recommend making sure that you put captions on your videos. So yeah, that was CapCut and InShot. InShot is great because it's only about £11 or £12 for the entire year. So I definitely recommend that one.
Okay,
so
before we come to Anthony, there's another one which is a bit photo related. So I'll ask this one of you, Lara, quick one.
Yeah.
Can I ask about the use of photos of people? How do you go about getting people to sign for use of images on the website and social media? And how do you keep it up to date, please?
I believe you can do this when you sign up members through ClubSpark. I believe there's a tick box that you can include that people can opt into for GDPR. And once it's done, that consent should usually be valid for their entire time at the club, unless they choose to pull out, basically. So
and I think also, if, for example, adults sign children up for different programs within the club, it can all be part of that sign up process as well, about images and that type of thing as well. And annual renewal subscriptions, all that type of thing.
Yes.
Okay. Just a quick, Anthony, did you have a question or not? You've sort of put your hand up and then put it down a couple of times. You still there, Anthony?
Is he gone?
Okay, maybe.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't know if my Wi-Fi was working well enough. I was only just trying to help John with his sponsorship. I'm head coach and membership secretary at Tenton Tennis Club, but we get we're same as him, 6 courts, 600 members. But we have sponsorship through estate agents and local pubs or restaurants that bring in about £3,000-4,000 a year.
Thank you. That's very useful.
Wi-Fi
So
has
we
worked
were
or
thinking
not.
of an estate agent. So thank you for that. Thank you.
And Anthony, would you do that? Would you do that by giving them banner advertising, or would it be?
We also get a percentage of every single household.
Yeah, Anthony, would it be
as
the
well,
wind?
which
Yeah,
brings in a few thousand.
Would it be windbreakers you were using at the club with their names and logos on it, or which method would you? How would you promote the fact that they had sponsored an?
Yeah, we have banners on our courts.
Okay, so banners as opposed to windbreakers, but windbreakers would work as well, I assume, for you all. Okay, we've got a.
I'll put it in the chat.
Thank you, Anthony. We've got a couple of more events coming up. So just a quick reminder that on the 20th of February, we're gonna have Ollie Scadgel. He's the LTA Participation Director. Now, the LTA just come to the end of their new plan that Scott Lloyd, the CEO, put into place, and the update of that has just gone into place for 24 to 26, and he's going to come and chat to all of you about what we've all got in store from the LTA's perspective and how what they're doing is going to help us. So please join us for that one. And then on the 12th of March, we've got a virtual coffee session chat all about membership and renewals ahead of really the new season kicking off. For most clubs, it kind of really does kick off sort of March to April. So please try and register for those and join us. Have we got anyone else wanting to ask any questions right now? Okay, I've got a quick question. If I go to, Lara, with the messaging, so we talked about how we should have it very simple and clear for people. So do you believe in very passive marketing where people kind of have to almost guess what you're thinking and what you're trying to get across, or is it very direct in your face? Here's where it's at, here's what we're trying to do. What do you prefer? Do you like it to be very sort of big and straightforward, or a bit more subtle?
I think it depends where that marketing is. So yeah, and I think it depends whether that's on, whether that's on social media or that's a poster in your local community centre or you're hoarding outside the club or whatever. I think it depends, really. It depends on, and it also depends on who you're trying to speak to, as a brand, as a program, as a venue, trying to establish your own tone of voice and how you communicate with people. I think you see a lot lately, particularly on Twitter or X. I'm sure everybody knows about or maybe possibly encountered the M&S and Aldi Colin the Caterpillar scenario with their cake that they had. And there was a bit of back and forth between M&S and Aldi, I guess you'd call it banter. But it humanized those two brands really well. I think you kind of giggled a little bit at how Aldi were being so cheeky and M&S was sticking to their very, stoic sort of standpoint on it. I think that's really important, is how you're connecting with people through your marketing and through your brand. It's like, how would you like to be spoken to by somebody who's representing a brand? You kind of want to have that human connection and that sort of understanding of each other. So I'd probably say somewhere in between, to answer your question directly. Sometimes you can be a bit bold and brash, and sometimes you need to rein it in a little bit, just depending on what you want to say, what you want to do, and how you want people to react.
But the clear messaging is important, because you don't want what you're trying to get across to get lost in a whole long paragraph. And
I'm a big fan of always keeping things simple anyway. So yeah, I would definitely stick to that.
Great.
That method.
Okay, any more questions this evening from anybody? Okay, Lara, any closing comments from yourself with what you've heard and something for a key takeaway for everybody tonight? Sorry to put you on the spot, but maybe there's one.
I think don't be afraid of marketing and, well, branding to kind of go hand in hand, really. I know it can be daunting, and a lot of people think that you've got to be super tech savvy and you need to, know your stuff on marketing. But a lot of the time, the information is already out there. It's just finding it and not being afraid to ask for help, whether it's from, like we've sort of talked about, from students who are nearby, who are local to you, and supporting them and their learning by sort of getting them in to help. Ask your membership, because more than likely there's probably someone in there who's got a connection or who might be able to provide some sort of expertise. Use the tools that are free. So whether it's Canva for free or CapCut, etc., use those sort of marketing and design tools as and when. And if all else fails, my inbox is always open. If you've got any questions or need some advice or some tips, I'm always happy to help. So yeah, either contact me through the group, through the Facebook group, or I can put my details in the chat as well.
Lovely. Thank you very much, Lara, and thanks for all of your contribution tonight. What we will do with all the information, if anyone wants the information, we can obviously make that available to you. You've also got the recording for some of the links, for example, the Deloitte, how you connect with them, and some of the stuff on the LTA website, because there's lots of material there if you can find it. And also the Club Spark side of things as well. So thank you very much for you all joining us. Douglas, if you could just stop the recording for me, please, and don't leave everybody just yet, please.